Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Target Focus Life podcast. There's a proverb that says, if you chase two rabbits, you will not catch either one. Now, when I hear that, the smart aleck in me would say, well, I'll use a shotgun and I'll just get them both. But I guess that's not really the point. How many rabbits are you chasing on a daily basis? And what is one thing that you can do today that by doing it, everything else will become easier or unnecessary? What is one thing that will make today a win and the future a success? I know you're like me. You have 100 things on your list. But today, we're talking about one thing. That's it. One thing. Let's go. If you've been following along, you may be wondering, where in the heck have you been, Steve? That's a great question. The last podcast we put out was about the 12-week year. And if you listen to that podcast, I had set a 12-week year goal. I got focused in on that, and it had nothing to do with the podcast. And so since I was so focused, I totally ignored the podcast, and that led into many more weeks. But here we are, back on the podcast. I'm excited. This is going to be a quick and short episode, but we're back. One of my apprehensions about starting this podcast was that I didn't have the right systems in place to maintain a podcast consistently. We built up the team and we put some people in roles to help with all that. And I kind of thought maybe I can juggle it all. But you know what I did? I delegated tasks and then I just added more to my plate. And I am going to be putting out podcast episodes. We might try to go to an every other week format. Summers are crazy busy. And since starting the podcast, I also started a new YouTube channel called Target Focused Live. That channel is going to be more about the exhibition journey, trick shots, entertainment, a little bit different than the Target Focused Life YouTube channel. Decided to throw a live event, a Target Focused Life live event in July. So we're working on planning that out. I'm diving into a whole new project that's going to get deep, but I can't discuss that quite yet. On top of that, of course, the summers, we have TFL shows going on, videos. I'm one of the owners of the Alexandria Shooting Park. That's going on. So summers are just a little bit crazy, but I'm going to do my best to continue to put out podcasts. I really enjoy it. And part of the reason I enjoy the podcast so much is because the things that I talk about are things that I need to apply and remind myself of daily. Now, I'm not saying all this to say I have any more going on than anyone else, because we are all, quote unquote, busy. Especially as Americans, we just pile it and pile it and pile it on. But here's the deal. We all have 1,440 minutes in a day. But have you ever noticed that some people are highly effective with their 1,440 minutes and they disproportionately create success? Time is not the issue. We all have the same amount of time. Most people think that if I just do more, the more successful I'll be. But this is not always true. Sometimes by trying to do too much, we accomplish little because we're chasing multiple rabbits and catching none. My tendency is to want to open up new projects without systems to maintain them. And this has been a recurring theme throughout my life. I love new projects. I love brainstorming new ideas. Think of the possibilities. I love putting energy into getting them started. But then I don't love to maintain things. I'm just being vulnerable with you guys. Once a project started, I'm on to thinking of the next. Let's go, let's build. But without the systems and the people in place, those things never reach their potential because they're not maintained properly. They're not nurtured the way that they need to be nurtured. This is a constant battle of where to place my focus. And this brought me back to a book I read several years ago titled The One Thing. This book is simple and yet one of my all-time favorites. And I think it's one of my favorites because, one, it's simple. I'm a simple man. And number two, it is so relevant to my life and my struggles, and it's relevant to everyone's life. I'm going to highly recommend this book. But the principle of the one thing is that success is a matter of prioritizing radically and focusing intently. And that's what this book is all about. So what is the real secret of success? Well, I'm not going to say I have any real secret, but the author says it's only one thing. See, the idea is that if we can just ask ourselves on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, what's the one thing that if I do it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? What's that one domino that if I push that domino over, other dominoes are going to start dropping? And I think that's the really important thing, because I also live a busy life. I am doing lots of things. But am I doing the right things? Just because something's good doesn't mean it's the right thing. My life is full of good things, good opportunities, awesome events to go to, and they're all good. But sometimes I have to say no to the good so I can say yes to what I believe God has called me to live within a balanced life of nurturing my family and my kids and career and all the different things. We have to be able to say no, and that's really hard for me. Is that hard for any of you to say no? You got that FOMO. That's what I got, a fear of missing out. But if we're really going to reach our God-given potential and step into the destiny that we have been called to, we must become very good at saying no to the good and doing the one thing that leads to the great. Over the next several podcasts, we're going to be discussing this book. Why? Because I know that when the principles of this book are applied, I am more effective and I live a more fulfilled life. And I know it's not just true for me. These principles are for everyone. But I'm highly motivated because I need a refresher on this. I need to remind myself daily, hey, what's the one thing I should be focusing on today? Yeah, I got the list of 100 checklist items, but what's the one thing that if I do it, will start to create that ripple effect, that domino effect? If we truly did the one thing every day, I know my life and your life would be radically different. So if you want to get the most out of the next several podcasts, I highly recommend you buy this book. I'll put a link in the show notes. Otherwise, just search for The One Thing. Then as we discuss it in this podcast over the next several episodes, it will become more real to you and more actionable. That's all I got for today, guys. Keeping it short, keeping it real. I love you. Remember, whether you're in the field or in life, you're only going to hit those shots you're laser focused on. So live the target-focused life. See ya.